All right, welcome to Hollywood Wayz. I'm Doug Ellen.
Breezy.
It's Halloween week. You got an orange hat on. Is it because you like Halloween or no?
I mean, I'm not against it. I'm not the biggest fan of Halloween, though. No.
I have hated Halloween my entire life, but Hollywood Halloween, the Casamigos party, was the best party every year, and really the only time I ever went out and somehow I dressed up, which I didn't even do as a child. I was just never a person who liked to dress up. But the Casamigos party was awesome, and I don't think it's happening this year. So I'm having a party at my house this year, which...
What kind of party?
A Halloween party. My girlfriend is taking it very seriously. The house is already like rolling and decorated, and I open the door and wolves howl at me, and it's fucking awful. So
I think that Halloween is one of those things. Either you really, really enjoy it, or you just don't care.
Yeah, I definitely don't care, but you know, things happen with your girlfriend. I have a great girlfriend. You met her this week, Sarah, and you know, she lures me in on these different things. Like the beginning of our relationship, she lured me in before COVID on watching The Bachelor, and she would bring all her friends over, and she's got all these beautiful friends. So every Monday night would be like all these beautiful girls in my house, and like watch The Bachelor, and you know, I do my thing, I'd laugh at it, I'd do a little stand up, and it was a nice thing. And now after COVID, all those beautiful girls, they don't come anymore, and I still have to watch The Bachelor, so it's pretty horrible. So,
damn.
Yeah, so you're not dressing up.
No, I'm not. I think I'm going to sit this one out. I mean, unless my fiance has something planned, which I don't know, but if she decides to do something cool. But I think, you know, we'll just leave it up to Diego to decide what that night looks like for
Diego's
us.
how old again?
10.
So no costume is planned for him. He's not like, I want to be
Well,
this.
he's indecisive. He's like on YouTube looking at all this stuff. So we'll just see what he decides. The costume store is literally walking distance from the house, but he doesn't know yet.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, good luck with that. And then maybe you'll come to our party. So new little format here. And Kevin Connolly, who's Action Park Media is growing and growing, does not have time to be here today. But we got our producer extraordinaire, Ted Foxman, who introduced us, put us together, and is going to maybe chime in. We don't know. But how you doing, Ted?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be a part of the show today.
All right. We're excited to have you. Are you dressing up for Halloween? You're coming to my house, so you'll have to.
I'm invited to two very famous Hollywood parties, yours being one of them.
I'm not that famous, but
I'm the most reluctant Hollywood participant you could have for Halloween.
I think, by the way, he's already giving me an excuse why he's not coming to my party. He's got someone
I'm
more
trying
famous.
to lay a little bit of the groundwork. For sure, you're picking up on it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm excited about it, and we're excited to have you, Ted. And I don't know what else is going on. How was your week this week?
My week was slammed.
Yeah.
My week was so busy.
What were you doing?
All American premiered this week.
Oh, very exciting. I didn't know if we were allowed to talk that you're alive.
Yeah.
Coop lives.
Yeah, Coop lives. So far, so good.
Yeah, did you have a good week on set?
It was a very, very busy week. I mean, it was busy. The days were 16 hours every single day. It was long.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean,
Halloween, I could really just take a nap.
I can't even believe they're going 16 hours a day. I mean, that's, you know, especially with everything that's going on in the world with the IATSE almost striking and people complaining about work conditions. I mean,
that's the one thing about just, you know, sets. They don't stop.
Yeah.
If they don't have to, they don't stop. And you know that. Like, everything keeps rolling. Nobody cares what you're going through. It's freezing. You know, I can't even say what we did, but it just.
What do you mean?
It was almost like the equivalent of going swimming in the wintertime.
You know,
all for TV.
But you know what? You got to get it. I was just watching some behind the scenes of Succession, which is a great show you should check out on HBO. But Jeremy Strong, who's the leader of that, he has this scene after this car accident that he goes into a lake. And Mark Mylod, who directed a lot of Entourage and a brilliant director and did Shameless and does Succession, he said Jeremy, after every take, wanted, and they were outside in the cold, he wanted a bucket of cold water poured over his head so he could really feel the thing. So you're not that method.
No. I mean, in some ways, but not when it comes to temperatures of my body. I'm not doing it. I can't do the cold thing. But you know what? This week, I got into Squid Games.
You did?
I did. I'm on like episode 7.
So what are you thinking?
I like it.
Yeah. Now, you're not letting Diego, your 9-year-old, watch it,
No. This is just me and Chris watching it. I think that there is a lot of underlying messages in that show.
Yeah, it's definitely got a social message.
I know that the killing comes across as a bit gruesome, but there's something to be learned from that show, which is why I'm still watching it.
Yeah, I think it's what's happening.
The cornbread's ready.
Okay. I was trying to avoid that beeping. That's why I got rid of that thing. All right. So,
did you finish it?
I finished it. And yeah, there's definitely a social message about, inequality and what poor people have to go through to get through. But still, I think
it's deeper than that.
What do you think?
That's you watching on a surface level, but
go deep.
But even like I didn't complete it, but the guy Ali in his boss that he walks in on, who owes him money, who just kind of pisses him off, like, oh, I don't owe you shit. Get out of my office. You know what I mean? But just like the status, and
class,
but you never know who's going to be able to perform in those moments when you need it most.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like that's a guy probably that could have saved your life.
Yeah. When the shit goes down, you don't know who's going to perform.
Exactly. And like the guy was like talking about trust, and he was like, trust is not about who you think is going to be there for you, but about who's there when you have no one else to lean on.
Right.
Between him and the pickpocketer. Yeah. When they were going through their little thing. So I think there is some deeper messages. Like that's probably something I'm going to have to watch a few times.
All right, good.
To come back and give it to you.
I still think it's definitely plays to kids though. And I think.
Well, I was trying to figure out how that scene of the sugar wasn't that long for a kid to get on TikTok and do it. But I also heard that this show only promoted on TikTok. I heard that there was no other marketing. There was no billboard. Everything.
So that's really geared to kids.
Everything was TikTok. I mean, I think it just went with one of the most popular platforms out here.
And as we know, our producer, his son tried to make those sugar cookies and burned himself. Thank God he's okay. But everybody out there, watch your kids because they do watch this stuff. And again, I am clearly not saying that anyone should not put this thing on the air because it is entertainment and parents should decide what their kids should watch. But be careful.
I think the killing is what the kids should not see.
Yeah. So is your fiance liking the show?
My fiance is falling asleep every episode.
She's bored by it, or she's just tired in general.
She's lying to me. I don't know. She knows that I'm a night owl, and I don't know. Like I tell her how good it is, and I had to explain to her 3 episodes.
And your eyes are just wide open watching.
Yes, and I have not been able to sleep. Like,
are you having nightmares over this show?
No.
See, I don't find it scary. I find it kind of cartoony. But
I'm looking at it, like I said, from a different perspective. I mean, it's just about how you watch things.
But
you know what I mean?
You like the underlying social message.
I do. That. I like a lot of the messages that I think are happening outside of the killing, but I feel like that's also a message in itself of just the world we live in.
Yeah.
You don't pay up, you cannot deliver, you're essentially dead.
It's kind of what happens. So
yeah, you're not gonna physically shoot you in the head with rifles, but
it's gonna happen to me if I don't dress up for Halloween.
I got something else to say.
Yeah.
Are they organ harvesting?
They're organ harvesting. Yeah. What episode are you on?
I don't know.
I'm not giving spoilers.
Yeah, I'm on 7 or 8, but I've seen the Asian guy that they keep sneaking down.
I love how enthusiastic you are about this. Yeah. I hope you're as enthusiastic about Goodfellas, which you're going to talk about.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out what's going on.
All right, good. And what we're going to talk about next, unfortunately, tragic accident that happened on the set with Alec Baldwin, and we're going to come back and talk about that in a minute. Welcome back, Hollywood Wayz, and unfortunately, a terrible tragedy. You and I have been on sets with guns. We know how serious that you need to take this. And Alec Baldwin's show in New Mexico, movie called Rust, a horrible accident that we don't know all the details yet, and I'm sure more will come out. But You've shot guns on multiple sets, correct?
Yes.
So tell me, first of all, because from my experience, which we've had, I've worked with guns a couple of times, and even me, who actually is somewhat trained with guns, I am so nervous when they are on a set, and I am so over-checking, and I think one of the things that may turn out to be a problem here that I think should be addressed is actors really should be trained as much as the armorers who handle these weapons to make sure, because when I'm on a gun range, every time it's discharged, we check the barrel, we make sure there's nothing lodged in there. So tell me about some of your experiences on this.
Well, my first experience was, on Empire, and that was my first experience, just with a firearm, period.
In life, too.
In life.
Right.
But I had an armorer that I was working closely with who, as we were leading up to the scene, was teaching me about the gun, showing me how he, cleaned it and did all this stuff, which I wasn't doing that much, but it was just like he wanted me to be familiar with the firearm because I think that's part of just good practice of having one, being comfortable with it, because if that thing goes off and you're like scared and you just throw it and shit, anything can happen. But all of my experiences have been very professional. They've made me feel very safe and comfortable with my weapon.
Right. And I think in this situation, which, we're going to talk about that this is not the first time this has happened. Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, was killed on a set where apparently a piece of a bullet was lodged into the weapon that was fired at him. Ted, you were telling me Bruce Willis, what did they say that happened?
Yeah, so I did a little research about this once I saw the accident happen, and I read that Bruce Willis lost like 2/3 of his hearing because an extra loud blank had been inserted in his Die Hard weapon, and when it went off, he went partially deaf.
And Breezy, when you have fired on Empire, on All American as well, did they offer you hearing stuff?
Yeah, when you're dealing with firearms, I think the comfort and security of the actor is most important when you're dealing with someone who's professional. Right. And they offer all those things. I personally didn't want them. My ears are very well adjusted to sound, loud sound especially. So for me, I didn't use anything. Because I don't want to sound like muffled. I don't want to sound like I'm underwater.
Right.
So
it's interesting though that you say you just worked 16-hour weeks this week, and IATSE almost had a strike about working conditions, and apparently on this Alec Baldwin set. And again, these details may all change by the time this airs, but the crew had walked off because they didn't think the conditions were safe. Allegedly, a gun had already misfired with a live round in it before, which I don't understand why a live round would ever be near a set. And what I will say, the one thing I can say, this never, ever should happen. There's nothing to say. This is clearly, well, we hope, a tragic mistake, but that mistake should never happen.
Yeah, Coop got shot end of season 3.
Yeah, All American.
There was a double shooting. So simultaneously, someone shot me and someone shot her, the person that was in the scene. And I was because it was late at night. It was dark out. We were in like the Crenshaw, Inglewood area. And, I'm like, you can't just be firing guns around here. And, somebody might think this is a real thing.
Yeah.
And we were just in an alley. But because that gun was pointed at me, like I needed to see that gun through and through before action was yelled or a trigger was pulled on that gun.
And which, by the way, as far as I know it, every person on that crew is allowed to say, I would like to look at that weapon.
So I think proper protocol, and don't quote me, but what they do is they usually gather everyone. The entire set has to come. And we have a safety meeting, and they review this gun. They'll open it. They will take a flashlight, stick it through the barrel. That light comes out the other end of it, which lets you know that there's a clear path and there's nothing in it. But that has to be done.
Right.
If you don't do that, then
right. Now
nobody knows.
Now tell me, because when watching Goodfellas last night, there's a scene where Karen, Henry Hill's wife, is on top of him with a gun that is a real gun, 100% pointed in his face. When you're acting, because I've had guns pointed at me. People think it's amusing.
Right.
I don't like a gun pointed at me.
I don't think anyone does.
But when you're acting and you feel, do you get to the place where you're going, okay, I feel that they might as well be pointing a pen at me. I'm not worried at all, and I can focus on my acting? Or is there part of you that I don't like?
Once I get what I need from that weapon and whoever, the prop master, whoever's in control of that gun, once I see that it is cleared, I'm fine. You can throw it around like a hula hoop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I have to see that. And I'm going to hold it myself. I'm going to touch it myself because I'm very familiar with weapons at this point.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, because every time some tragedy happens, then everybody comes in and says, how are we going to make sure this never happens again? And I know there's been some other tragic accidents on set. A friend of mine was friends with I think the cinematographer got killed on the Allman Brothers movie a couple of years ago, where they were filming on a railroad track without a permit, and the director actually went to jail. And then one of the most famous incidents was the Twilight Zone movie, where John Landis was like probably the biggest comedy director in the world at the time. He had done Trading Places and the Blues Brothers and Animal House and other things. And someone, Vic Morrow, a very famous actor, was killed with 2 children on the set of The Twilight Zone. And John Landis, which again, I don't know all the details, he was ultimately acquitted, but he spent a year on trial for manslaughter. And
how were they killed?
They were killed by a helicopter crashing on them. And what I think happened, which often happens, because I have been around some reckless directors who are willing to kind of push the limits, and they just want to get whatever on film. Me personally, I've always been a person who's like, the safety is the most important thing.
Well, I think I'm the actor I don't care how much you're trying to push it. I'm not putting myself in that, and you can't make me.
Yeah. And
especially when you know something could potentially go left. I mean, the worst thing we want to do is get hurt on set.
And then also, it's just like, again, respecting that weapon. Mm-hmm. Everybody has to know, treat it like it's loaded at all time. Ted, what was that guy's name? Who he was an up and coming star. Who what was his name? That he was messing around. He was playing like Russian roulette with the set weapon, and he shot himself in the head in like, what was that, 84 or something? I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah, he was joking with the weapon that was given to him on set, and I guess the shoot was taking much longer than everybody expected, so he put it up to his head as like a gesture of like, haha, like, kill me right now, and then the gun went off.
And
oh
you know,
my gosh.
It's a thing for you.
See, I don't play those. I don't do that.
And but it's a thing for you, Breezy, to think about as me, who's dealt with so many actors. Oftentimes, and I know this is not you, but oftentimes the actor starts to believe they're the most important person, which they are to the success of the project. Mm-hmm. But the stuff that crews do and the amount of time and effort, like when I show up on set, and by the way, when you're creating a show and you're show running the show, you're working your ass off. There's still people working 1,000 times harder than me. That when I show up at 6 o'clock in the morning, they've already put everything out and they're busting their ass and they're not getting the financial rewards that they deserve and they're not getting the credit that they deserve.
And that's pretty much what that strike was going to be about.
Yeah.
Correct?
And it's just...
And the hours that they put in, I mean, you probably put 4 hours in front of our call time and then 4 hours on the back end, probably, of what, like you said, by the time you get there, they're already, the show's already running.
and no one cares. Everyone's just like, keep going, and they're just workhorses.
I actually love my crew. I try to make sure they know that. I come to work and bring coffee or whatever they want. I always call, you need cigarettes? I don't care.
I'll tell you that for every
actor, work early to
every actor out there, and I have seen some true jerk-offs treat the crew awful, and there is nothing worse than that. And I've seen actors who really could have been stars, that their behavior, because sometimes you can get away with it. You can be so good and so powerful that everybody just lets you do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But you better be Brad, and I'm not saying Brad Pitt's ever been bad, but you better be Brad Pitt. You better be one of Leo to get away with that stuff. For normal people, aside from just the obvious, to be nice to other people, it's so important to realize how much goes into making a movie. And for me, who had a successful show, how many people that did stuff for me that they will never be credited for. And it's important to be grateful and thankful to all of that. So anyway, really horrible story, and hopefully nothing worse comes out of it, but I'm sure there's going to be some type of trial and somebody to play. And for Alec Baldwin, again, hopefully he didn't do anything reckless. My guess is he didn't, but we'll find out.
So,
but that's going to be something that unfortunately is never going to leave him. So that's horrible. But anyway, we'll be right back, and we'll start lightening the mood here. All right, welcome back. So we're trying to this podcast, we're growing as we go. We're trying to learn this. I really do believe I got one of the best voices out there in Breezy.
Thank you.
I got a great producer in Ted Foxman over there, who, by the way, just so you understand, Foxman is a businessman who does not need to be here, and he actually just likes the creative aspects of it, and he has got many businesses going. One is this very cool business, Happy Ice, that you can find all over LA, which we'll talk more about next week because I'm going to go try it. Ted's going to bring me there and give me a taste of it.
You've never had Happy Ice?
I had it once at his house, but it was like...
you got to go to the store.
No, you came to the store one time when we first opened the store on Melrose.
I'm doing content. I'm trying to pretend I didn't, but...
I hear you.
I'm so good at my performance.
The reason why I correct you is because they could just look back on your Instagram and see that you were there.
They can't look back.
But now they can't. So,
My Instagram has been shuttered, and I don't want to talk about it anymore because whatever. But anyway, what I do want to talk about, and yes, I tried Happy Ice and I love it. Breezy and Ted, they met through Lemire, who started Happy Ice, and we'll get into that next week. And it's a very cool Philadelphia Water Ice Company. But I wanted to talk about the daily dish of the week because people keep DMing me.
Daily
and Breezy
dish.
cooks and I eat. And this isn't like gourmet cooking we're talking about, but I just want to talk about a spot because I've become so demented that I wake up at like 6:30 in the morning because this line forms at this place, Courage Bagels, and I go there, and I actually go there 6:45 in the morning last week, and the only other person online is David Geffen, and the time before that I went there's Toby Maguire on this place, so this place is hot. Breezy, you like bagels?
I love bagels.
You got to try this. I mean, and I would bring it to you.
I
but
thought Einstein bagels was like the thing.
No.
And
I mean, I don't want to trash anybody on this show besides some shitty actors that I don't like. But no, Einstein bagels, this is a whole other level. And so is Pop's Bagels.
What's your
LA,
go-to bagel?
Well,
first, because I want to see if Einstein's had
my go-to, you mean what kind of bagel?
Yeah.
Well, at Courage, it's the burnt everything with smoked salmon, cream cheese, capers, tomatoes, onions.
Did you say burnt?
It's slightly burnt. It's incredible. Like, it's not burnt where you taste the
So
flavor
it's like
of burnt.
you get the
So
lox.
it's not like the carcinogenic Courage bagel.
No, well, I hope not, but it doesn't taste carcinogenic. It tastes delicious, and I'm so demented I sit there. So during this COVID thing, I found this, and there was nowhere to sit there. So, and it's like 35 minutes from my house. My kids think I'm absolutely insane. I'd wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd walk out of the house with a plate because I knew I had to eat in the car like an animal. So I would bring my own plate and show up there, and I would sit right in front of this place and eat it. But it is, I'm a New Yorker, and I'm a Jew. I know a bagel. This is a damn good bagel.
Okay.
I know a bagel.
And I love bagels.
Yeah.
Like, I love bagels.
So what do you like
I
on your
there.
bagel?
I'm not going at 6.
Yeah,
Are they open at 2?
they are open till 2, so you can get there a little late. But you
Okay.
got to eat it fresh there when it's hot out of the oven. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to give a shout out to that. And each week we're going to come up with stuff. And anyone who's got anything to recommend to us that you think we should try, I haven't even gotten you there yet, Ted, which is crazy because I'm going.
I know because I don't do anything at 6 in the morning.
I'm not.
I don't
doing
try
that.
to
You know
catch
what
planes.
I tried?
I don't
that
do
was
anything.
that was amazing. And I just found this out that Crustaceans has brunch.
Oh, really? I've been to Crustaceans so long. You're talking in Beverly Hills?
Yes.
I don't even know it's still there.
It is.
They have
remodeled it.
brunch.
So what was the brunch? What'd you have?
I had it was a crispy rice, which was like your hash brown, so
Right.
to speak, and Wagyu steak on top, and
You're getting me so hungry right now.
like the eggs Benedict on top with the hollandaise sauce, and it had a little asparagus with it, a little potato. It was amazing. Like, I
You
was like,
guys
are
finished the
serious?
show without me. I gotta go
And I
somewhere.
actually, you know what's crazy is that I don't prefer crustaceans for dinner. My fiance loves it. I'm not, everybody goes for that big crab thing, and I'm like,
I swear to you, I haven't been there in 10 years. I don't know why, because I did
it
love
was
crustaceans.
it was the hot place.
The
I
hot
think it's
place,
because I
yeah.
don't leave the house, but
well, their brunch is amazing. So if you're ever in Beverly Hills, what street is that?
it's on
Cannon?
Little Santa Monica, I think, and like Cannon, right?
Cannon.
Cannon.
No, I think it's like Bedford, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a little west.
a little further west.
You know,
than
so-
Rodeo.
Crustaceans, their brunch is amazing.
So we'll get into food a little more because anyone who used to follow me on my very popular Instagram page that was shuttered by these animals knows how into food I am. And really, for me, Breezy, I don't know if you're like this. I'm like my drug is food. When I get depressed, I eat. And
I would look at Brian Grazier's Instagram, and that's all he loves posting.
Does
his
Brian
food.
Grazier put his food on?
Yeah.
I got to check that out
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he probably
yeah.
knows some good spots. But I've
Yeah.
been having such a meltdown over the last 4 weeks.
About
where it's,
food?
Yeah, because I did the no sugar added for like 2 months. I do still wake up. I eat my mush, which is this healthy oatmeal every day, which gets me going.
Eat my
in a nice
mush.
way.
You
gotta try this.
You sound like 60, 70. Eat my mush.
Breezy,
Can you
I'm
grind my
close.
food, please, so I can drink it through a straw?
Oh my gosh.
But
Waiting on my
6:30
mush.
in the morning.
I am not far off from 60, which is
Your
so
kids are probably like, what the
sad.
hell is wrong with him?
Oh, I tried. I woke up today with my daughter. I said, Maya, why don't you start off with some mush? She doesn't curse at me. She basically looked at me like, why don't you go fuck yourself? But I'm telling you, it is delicious, and try it. Courage Bagels, Pop's Bagels, and we'll bring some more good food stuff to you, and hopefully this will be interesting. Actually, where I want to take both you and Ted is to Harold and Bell's, which is...
I've been there.
I've been there too, as
I've
you
been
remember.
Oh, that's right. That's
With
how the
Sugar Ray and
Leonard,
Tommy Hearns a couple
Tommy
weeks
Hearns
ago.
thing happened. Ted actually...
Black.
I hate-
You can't
I hate
take
the name
me to
drop.
Harold and Bell's.
I was one of the
I'm
only.
black.
I was one of the
I
only
am-
white people in there. If that makes any.
But I'm just
difference.
saying, like, one thing I did when I came to LA is I need the good, flavorful food. I don't prefer to eat in Beverly Hills. I don't prefer any of that. I want to go to Inglewood and eat. When I want to pig out,
I'm
that's
bitter
what I
that-
want to do.
I'm bitter that you've been to Harold and Bell's without me. I've been friends with them for 30
Have
years.
you been to La Louisiane?
No, I haven't. Where is that?
It's another one, another gym, somewhere around there. I don't know.
Is this Cajun?
Yes.
Because, I went to school in New Orleans.
Stuffed pork chop with like Cajun crab and shrimp.
Here's what I suggest. We take a day, the three of us, like a field trip.
And go sample.
We go Courage Bagels. We go Harold and Bell's, where I've been eating the same thing there. And I did shoot a scene in Entourage there with Jerry Farrar and Jamie Lynn Siegler, because it really is like my favorite place. Because
I think my picture's up in these places too at this point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
If your picture's in Harold and Bell's, as mine is not,
my picture's up at the dry cleaners I go to.
I did notice at Harold and Bell's when I was there a couple of weeks ago, they had a menu that I think was signed by Rosa Parks. So that's how old school that place is.
You know what? It's
Legendary.
been there. I know Ryan, who owns it. I don't want to misquote this. I think his grandfather was stabbed in that restaurant. It's been there 75 years, I believe. And as I said, New Orleans is like my second home. I was supposed to go in 3 weeks. I actually, unfortunately, had to cancel for my 30th college reunion from Tulane University. I still feel like I'm 25. Do Breezy and I not look the same age? Am I fucking
You
nuts?
definitely do. Why did you cancel?
I canceled.
I think I look a little smoother.
You do look smoother, but yeah. I've got some. This pitch that I was supposed to do next week, actually, which we can get into a little bit. But I have a new show I'm working on that I'm not writing. Everybody wants to know why I'm not writing. I'm trying to produce, where I get other people to do my work for me. But we'll see how.
I have some stuff I'm going to give you, so you can get
good.
this useful
I love
look.
it. But anyway, we got.
You don't even want to fucking.
What?
Doesn't even want to hear about it.
Oh wait, I thought.
Good, I love it.
Wait, are you about to pitch him?
No, I want to give you some stuff to make you
products?
look younger.
Oh, I'm in.
Yes,
What
my
kind of
friend.
stuff?
I told Ted, my friend just released her skincare line.
I'm in.
Lori Harvey, Steve Harvey's daughter.
What do I have to do?
Get in a DeLorean, I think, to look younger is the best shot you got.
Lori Harvey has an eye cream
All
that
right.
they says it's just.
Now I want to try it, even though I just so you know, I'm partial to Peter Thomas Roth. He's a friend, but I don't use anything. I don't put anything on, which you're saying I need to. The eyes look tired. Is that what you mean?
You just need to take care of yourself.
All right.
This is self-care. This isn't. You don't need to, but.
We're going to get into this offline. I'm willing to listen to you because Breezy, by the way, I'm not going to give her real age. Maybe she will, but she plays 16 on TV and she's not. So that's incredible.
People can Google my age.
Do you think I could play 16? Or no?
No. You'll be like,
Imagine I walked through All American like I was a new kid in the high school halls.
Who's that guy with the beard and the love handles?
What was the scene with Entourage when dude's headshots were so old? He was like, dude, they're expecting to see a 22-year-old and you're like, he was like.
It's so depressing, man. Yeah, Kevin Dillon, who we're going to have to bring on as a guest. But you know what? When I started doing stand-up in L.A., because I did look young when I was young. I still think I look young for my old age.
Yeah.
But when I was doing stand-up in 1991 in this town, people thought I was 14. I'm not even kidding. They were like, you can't be in this club. And I would be drinking a whiskey before I got on stage because I was so stressed out. And you ever do stand-up?
No.
You'd be good. You have a good cadence.
I literally had the time of my life with Steve Harvey last night.
Steve Harvey's
funny. He was
funny,
laughing at me so much, and I was like, I might be funny.
You are definitely funny.
You might be funny.
I might be funny.
Anytime
Seriously.
we can bring out the funny and Breezy, you're a 10. You're like a home run hitter because you have this kind of cool, laid back vibe. But once we like break you down a little bit and the walls come down, you're funny as hell. So we're going to keep finding that comedy, and we're going to be right back because we're now talking about. Honestly, which is crazy, Goodfellas is one of the most violent movies ever, one of the most realistic movies ever that I have a real personal affinity for. But it's also one of the funniest movies the more you watch it. So we're going to be back. We're going to talk Goodfellas. All right, welcome back. Hollywood Wayz, Doug Ellen.
Breezy,
the coolest cat in the house. And we're talking Goodfellas, which, perhaps the most influential movie of the last 50 years for real, which whether you know that now, we'll get into some of those things. But since we talked Shawshank, Frank Darabont said he watched Goodfellas every day when he was filming Shawshank for inspiration. It's based on Nicholas Pileggi's book, Wise Guy, directed by my favorite director, Martin Scorsese. Some say Scorsese, I've never been sure, even though I worked with him because he was on Entourage. But this movie has a lot of personal connections to me. The first one being, I went to the premiere of this movie in 1990-91 at the Ziegfeld in New York. And interestingly enough, I went with my friend Rob Weiss, who ultimately made Amongst Friends, and little behind-the-scenes stories, Hollywood. Two things happened. The guy that Johnny Drama's personality was really based on Entourage was always pulling off major things. And we all grew up in the neighborhood of Goodfellas. We all have mobsters who lived next door to us and grew up with them, and some were our friends. I've told our producer, Ted Fox, but at my 30th reunion, I walked in and saw an old friend who I know since kindergarten. I said, "You're not going to cause any problems tonight." And he said, "I've changed." And about 3 months later, he was arrested for 5 murders. He's currently doing life in jail. So that was 5 murders. Now that's what they know about. Anyway, I still love him, but I don't want to shout out his name because I don't want him mad at me.
What does he change from if he's committing 5 murders?
Well, he was playing like he had changed. But
did all 5 of these people know each other?
Well, apparently what happened was he used to commit lots of robberies, and an armed guard was killed in one of the robberies. And for some reason, 10 years later, he decided to get rid of some witnesses. But he's not the only one. My first girlfriend in elementary school, her father was a mafia guy. My next door neighbor, who's vanished and allegedly killed by Sammy the Bull Gravano, is also gone. So I have a lot of this.
You got to be quiet.
But
stop talking about it.
I'm feeling
before you
unsafe.
disappear.
Yeah,
Stop using my real name.
But the kid who got us into the premiere was always able to. He was a very Johnny Drama type. He was an actor, and he was always able to pull off these things. We wanted to see Goodfellas so bad. So he called up and said to the publicist that he was Michael Cimino, who was a very famous director at the time. And we were 21 years old. He called up and said, "We want to come to the Goodfellas premiere. Can we go get tickets?" And they said, "We'll leave him at the door." And he said, "You know what? I like him in my hand. I'm very particular. I'm sending a bike messenger to come get him." He went and got him, and we went to Goodfellas. And at that premiere,
he was clever.
Paul Sorvino, who played Paulie, we met his daughter, Mira Sorvino. And Rob Weiss, who worked on Entourage, went on to make the film Amongst Friends, literally a year later, which Mira Sorvino was in. Woody Allen sees that movie, and she's in, I'm blanking on the name of Woody Allen's movie, but she wins an Oscar less than 2 years later because we were at that premiere. So that's kind of an interesting little behind-the-scenes Hollywood. So what do you think about that?
Jeez.
Yes.
I mean, I wish, every time I hear these stories, I'm like, man, I wish I was around.
Yeah, you'd be 60 now, though, so you don't wish that.
I know, but it just seemed like so much fun. I mean, and then the chance to just see a great movie like that firsthand. These movie premieres today suck.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a different vibe, but also, based on a book that I had read, and what I want to say to everybody, most people have seen this movie, but any Scorsese movie, never watch it once and tell me what you think about it. This is like great, deep, detailed stuff that you need to watch several times before you.
It's timeless. You can watch it several times.
So this movie came out, Oscars in '91. It did not win Best Picture, which is criminally insane.
Who did?
Dances with Wolves, directed by Kevin Costner.
That's a tough year to come out. Like, lots of good product.
Yeah, well, there was Ghost was nominated.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Lord.
Well, Ghost was also one of my favorites.
You love Ghost.
Yeah.
And Whoopi Goldberg.
Wait, Robert De Niro's Awakening was in there too?
Robert De Niro's Awakenings was nominated.
At the same time being nominated for Best Picture?
Yes, and De Niro was not nominated for Best Actor for this, but he was for Awakening. So, but I think, to me, what makes a movie stand the test of time, and Dances with Wolves is a great movie, but I've seen Goodfellas 150 times since I saw it in the theater that time. I don't think I've seen Dances with Wolves since. I really don't, even though I remember liking it very much. Have you ever seen Dances with Wolves?
I have not.
Kevin Costner movie. Maybe we'll get into it.
I watch that because I told you I watch things by the actors I like, and I actually enjoy watching Kevin Costner. So just gotta put that in. Check that out.
I can't even speak about it because I really haven't seen it in 15 or 20
I've seen
years.
It maybe 50 times.
I remember I liked it a lot.
I love the movie. I mean, it's. I think it's like 8 hours long, but it's unbelievable.
Does it feel like 8 hours?
It's such a good, soulful movie about a person who just wants a connection. He's out there in the wilderness, and he ends up connecting to a Native American tribe, which is. They were at war, right? And it was amazing.
But I'm a big animal guy, so there was a scene where they shoot the wolf, and I literally remember because I was on a date. And the girl I was with. The girl I was with, though, was hysterical. And I said to her, I go, they shot 40 Indians in this movie, and you didn't get emotional, but the one wolf, and you're devastated. But I also was devastated by the killing of the wolf. So, but I was about the Indians as well. So.
My brother cried when my mom ran over a squirrel one time.
I mean, I'm a big animal guy, so I've said it on the show. Ted, he'll get mad at me, but he's a little. Let me ask you this: we're going to get back to Goodfellas in 1 second, but I had a cat. 4 o'clock in the morning, I woke up, and my nightstand drawer was open and my cat's just throwing shit out of it like he owned the place. And I reached over and I went to shut the door and it had, like, there was no lock on it. It closed it on his arm and broke his arm. And I sat with my cat for 4 hours while he cried, waiting for the doctor to let him in. And what happened is, and I told Ted the next day, I said, and you can all laugh at me all you want, and this is real, $15,000 to get my cat surgery. And Ted, don't get upset. We're here. But Ted said...
Here's where the Ted character flaw hour is what
Ted,
Hollywood
what did Ted
Wayz
say?
Ted said, just put him down. And I was like, he's 6 years old. What are you talking about?
Oh, put him down, like kill him?
No, first of all, let me just say this. I never said put him down. What I said was, do you know how many cats you could have saved with $15,000? I did not say put the cat down.
Not my cat, number one. Not the cat that I did this to. I could still, only because we're on the air and there's a camera in front of me, am I not crying thinking about what I did to my cat that day? I'm not even kidding. It was one of the worst moments of my life. I'm like, I did this to him. I broke his arm because I couldn't, like, I wear a blindfold at night because I can't
I'd argue
sleep.
he did it to himself.
Oh, so you didn't see him?
I just didn't think,
Or you would just sleep and
I
foggy.
woke up and I just slammed the door and all of a sudden
you slammed it.
Well, there wasn't like see, I'm gonna cry right now. I'm not even kidding.
Oh man,
it's Tex, who was named.
You know what?
He was named after the Yankees first baseman Mark Teixeira. I love that guy so much. And
do you still have the cat?
Well, I don't, because he got old, even though Ted didn't want him to. He lived another 10 years, and then he died a peaceful life. And I believe
you know that you can actually get insurance for your pets.
Yeah, I know that.
I have insurance for my dogs. I have medical insurance for my puppies.
You know what? I should have, but I never imagined that I would close the door. By the way, they would have sued me. The insurance company would have kicked him after me. They're like, we're not paying for this because you closed the door on your
That
cat.
was negligence.
It's horrible. But anyway, let's get back to Goodfellas, because I'm actually getting upset I missed this cat. He was
Shame
awesome.
on you, man.
So, yeah.
Shame on you, man.
So tell me, what did you think about Goodfellas?
I love Goodfellas. I love anything that's a mobster movie. I love that culture of whatever that is. I mean, I've only experienced it through movies. They were not ever my neighbors.
Right.
Philadelphia, we had a lot of people like that, but I wasn't close to them.
Right.
So I just love it. And what's the lead guy's name?
Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta.
The younger one.
Ray Liotta.
Yeah, I didn't know his name. I love him.
How is he not nominated for an Academy Award for this movie? How can you be better than
I don't know.
He wasn't nominated for that role?
No. And that's a role, by the way, that he fought to get for a year. Irwin Winkler, who's a incredibly famous, awesome producer, did not want him. And Scorsese was fighting for him. But Ray Liotta had to really fight to get that job. And it's I know we've talked about The Bodyguard. We can't imagine anybody but Costner in that terrible movie. But there is no way to imagine Goodfellas without Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, and Robert De Niro, and probably Paul Sorvino as well. But and Lorraine Bracco. I mean, it's such an amazing movie. But why I find it so interesting, and there's so much stuff that I took in Entourage, which was homages to it, which a lot of people did, but the way he used music, I mean, he would shoot his scenes to the music that he had already picked. That's how specific and that's how detail oriented he was for this. And also what I find incredible about it, the first time I saw it, so how many times, when did you first watch it? Do you remember?
I was young.
Yeah, so like when they did the scene where...
I know the first time I seen it, I cried when Joe Pesci got killed.
Really?
Yeah, I cried.
Cried?
Yeah.
That's her cat.
Wow, yeah. Ted would have put him down. But these are evil people, by the way. One thing I want to talk about, because it came out at the same year as Godfather 3. Godfather was and maybe still be considered the best mafia movie of all. But the difference between those movies... That's the 40s, when Italian immigrants are coming to this country and they're basically looked at, as were Jews, as dogs. People did not want them near them, did not want them working, treated them like they were some, race that did not deserve. So those people basically came and said, we have to find our ways to feed our family. Italians. We live by a code of honor. You have to be from this certain area of Sicily to be in this mafia family. But Goodfellas, what's different is this is 70s, 60s, 80s. And now it's really a fight against the system. These are people who can go out and get regular jobs, but they're deciding to go fuck the system. I'm not going to be some regular schmo. And what's so genius about this movie, and we're going to have Jordan Belfort on to talk about The Wolf of Wall Street, which has a lot of similarities. But the difference is this movie sucks you into this life from the minute it opens, which is one of the great openings ever. If you remember, there's a half-dead body in the car of Billy Batts, and you don't know what is going on, and they open the trunk, and Joe Pesci takes out a steak knife and starts stabbing this guy, and then a freeze frame happens on Ray Liotta's face where he says, "Ever since I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster." And part of any man, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that anymore, goes, fuck, I kind of want to be a gangster too. I kind of want to live this life. And then they spend the next 45, 50 minutes getting you into this life where they drive fancy cars, where people respect them, where kids carry his groceries.
Clean. They get into the clubs that are elite.
Yeah.
And then
wasn't it a thing when you just back to what you were saying about being pure Italian? That was a thing, right? Because somebody couldn't be made, right?
You could not be made if you were not pure Italian. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and De Niro in that movie is actually not a made man because he's Irish, which is somewhat interesting because he actually is Italian. And I wonder in 2021, are you allowed to play Italian if you're Irish, or Irish if you're Italian, or Jimmy Caan, who was Jewish was Italian in The Godfather and is actually Jewish. So anyway, those are.
Does that matter in real life?
Everything matters today, so I'm not.
I'm just saying, like within the Italian culture, like is that?
Do you mean in the mafia? Or
like for somebody who is Italian to play an Irish person. Right?
I don't know. I know Sarah Silverman
does it
came
get
out.
That deep?
Sarah Silverman came out last week and said she doesn't want non-Jewish people playing Jewish people. I don't know anymore. There was people who don't want Daniel Day-Lewis, who won the Oscar for My Left Foot, playing a paraplegic because he's not really a paraplegic. Now, if you could find anyone who's a paraplegic that can act as well as Daniel Day-Lewis, I'd be shocked. If you could find anyone that's not a paraplegic that can act as well as Daniel Day-Lewis, I'd be shocked. So we're in a very strange time. But I don't know. I would like to think that actors, the purpose is
to act,
play anything that's not you. Like, I mean, that's
literally thing, you're a chameleon.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if I should touch that because I'll probably get in trouble.
Bill Burr, the comedian, actually did a great routine on that a little while ago, where he was mentioning that Bryan Cranston, who's like the most lovable actor ever, super respected, Breaking Bad, he got a lot of flack for playing a handicapped person in that movie with Kevin Hart called The Upside.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And Bill Burr's response was basically, well, what do you want him to do? It's acting. If somebody who's actually in a wheelchair is in that movie, it's called being, right? Like
Drake
it's not
played somebody
acting.
in a wheelchair.
And what do you say? Oh, I prepared my whole life. I dove into the shallow end of that pool. And
it's interesting to look at the time change because I wrote a line in Entourage, which I probably wouldn't write today. But at the time, Awakenings is out. De Niro's basically playing like a comatose guy, and there's others. Tom Hanks is winning for Philadelphia, and basically Johnny Drama on Entourage says if you play gay, or which I don't want to say this word in any derogatory way. Everybody listen, but if you play gay or retarded, you win an Oscar. And that's really what was happening at that moment. Everybody was getting nominated was either playing gay or retarded. So.
You said that so fast.
Well, I'm so scared to say it.
He's very uncomfortable putting that word out there.
I'm very uncomfortable. Just so you know, Breezy is gay and she loves me and believes that I love her.
She's not retarded.
Right. She's nobody is. I don't know. It's not even a word anymore, right? I don't know.
Is it not?
You're not supposed to say it, and I stopped saying it a long time ago, but when I was growing up, as is these guys in Goodfellas, by the way, who use the N-word and other things, this is a movie portraying a particular group of very bad people. And even aside from them being very bad, in 1975, if you were growing up in that area, there was real segregation between even the Italians and the Irish. There was the Irish mob, the Italian mob, and there were Asians, blacks, and everybody was kind of spread out all over the place. So they say words that...
I honestly just hope that when me and Chris get married that, a bunch of people just walk up and hand her envelopes of money.
That's scene,
what
right?
I want. Yeah, love that scene. I want that. And I was like, what is going on here?
And that's one of the things about Goodfellas, though.
And I love the way they took care of their women. I mean, they probably were like pieces of shit at home, but...
Well, they take care of their women. They beat the shit out of them once they don't like them, and they cheat on them, and they have a girlfriend.
Yeah. But it's like...
But other than that, she loves them.
Exactly. If Chris is out, Ted's got her, Doug's got her, Kevin's got whoever. Like, she's good if you guys are ever in the vicinity.
Well, the thing about the
but if
mafia,
you come home,
but the thing about the mafia that
sandwich.
really used to be, which is, it's not what it was. It really was. It was family.
Yeah.
And you don't betray the family and you don't fuck with the family. And Goodfellas was really...
They were very close-knit.
In this new time, which I think a lot of it is so brilliant, what brought down the mafia is that they did get involved in drugs. And in the movie, he says to him, you don't deal drugs, because they knew how hard the government was coming down on that. Mm-hmm. And there was so much stuff they could get away with that the drugs took it to a whole other level. But I want to talk about one of the other things about Goodfellas and Scorsese movies, Raging Bull, Casino. Mm-hmm. These movies are so terrifyingly real, and these characters are so awful. But as they've grown, they've also had a great influence on comedy. And the amount of laughs in this movie, like the first time I saw the scene where he says, I'm funny? What the fuck is so funny about me? You think I'm so funny? That was a terrifying scene. And now it's comedy. Mm-hmm. And the same with Casino. Some of those moments, which I was showing Ted before here, they put those words in Bert and Ernie's mouth on Sesame Street. Everybody should go watch that.
It's hilarious.
And
I think those movies were so influential, even in rap culture.
Yeah, for sure.
Everybody talks about it. You can barely find a rap song that doesn't mention the comparison or, from one of those like movies. Goodfellas, The Godfather, Scarface, like.
Yeah, and the filmmaking of it, obviously the Copacabana shot is one of the most famous shots in film history. It's 3 minutes, and it's not just, they did a shot with no edits to it. What they did is they let you walk into the life through the eyes of Karen Hill, who was going to be his wife. They walk into the Copacabana like everybody in the world, as you now know, Breezy, who's now famous. You walk into these places and you're treated like a king. All of a sudden, you go from Philadelphia cutting hair, and all of a sudden you're living like this. And that's how she was. She was watching this young kid who's walking her into this place, and they did it in one shot. And, I love that stuff because, there's a couple of shots in movies. The Player had a long 3-minute shot that Jeremy Piven from Entourage is actually in. And Touch of Evil, which Orson Welles did, has this famous tracking shot. And then Boogie Nights has the amazing opening, if you've ever seen that, which is incredible. But Scorsese, this shot has really stood the test of time.
Where was the shot at?
This was shot at the Copacabana. I think it's actually where it was.
Where is that?
In the movie?
Where's Copacabana?
Copacabana is in New York. It was a club, and it was like the hot club that you would want to go in that year. And he walks in the back door and through the restaurant, past the things, and then Henny Youngman, who was a famous comedian at the time.
The film was shot in New York. All of it.
All of it was shot in New York. Yeah, I mean that's
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Scorsese just keeps it so real. And, as I said, for Entourage, which I'm not comparing to Goodfellas, so you don't have to write me nasty messages, even though I can't respond to those messages anyway because I'm not on Instagram. But
yes, you are on Instagram. Well, You're still there.
I'm on the Hollywood Wayz and Victory page.
He's very meta.
Living in some...
But he's not missing anything. He's not there.
He's a mystery.
I'm not missing anything, but people are missing me, I think. They're sad. There's a
sadness
out there.
I've had a lot of comments on my Instagram looking for you.
But it's just... I think for all filmmakers out there to watch how real he makes these people feel and how he somehow makes you actually start to like these psychopathic sociopaths who have no love for anybody, but then you feel, if you remember the scene where Joe Pesci is killed and De Niro is at the phone booth and finds out his best friend is killed. I mean, it's genius. And he's trying to hold it back, this tough murderer.
Yeah.
So I love it.
At the premiere, did you have the feeling like Joe Pesci was going to get killed?
Well, I had read the book, so I knew everything that happened in the book, but I didn't know what was going to happen. And the truth is, I'm not embarrassed to say now, the first time I saw the movie in the premiere, because there was so much in the book that I wanted, I was slightly disappointed.
I think it usually happen like that? Wasn't it the same with Outsiders, Ted?
I read the book also, and I remember I saw Goodfellas for the first time with my dad, and I walked out and I was like, man... There was so much that was missing from the book.
But Ted, you said the same thing about Outsiders. I think both of you guys said the same thing. The book was...
The book is genius.
But here's the big difference.
The movie's not.
Goodfellas movie is better than the book.
Agreed.
And it took, like I say, with if you like really great music, it's one thing when you listen to a pop song, you hear it the first time, it catches your ear, and you're like, oh, that's cool. really great music takes time to understand it, and really great filmmaking is the same thing. And not that you can't understand Goodfellas the first time you see it, but the more you watch it, the more you see the incredible level of detail and brilliance and all of the filmmaking. Like, if you notice the last 20 minutes of that movie, which again, I did steal an Entourage, Ari gets fired, and I used the same song, Rolling Stones, Monkey Man. But he shot that so you felt like you were a coke addict. And I know the first time I saw it in the theater, I was like, fucking Jesus, this is making me crazy.
Yeah.
And that was his intention.
Yeah.
And now when I watch it, the helicopter overhead, him, stirring his tomato sauce as if his life depends on it.
All the music in that scene is completely frantic. It makes you feel very uncomfortable, like your skin is crawling.
Anxiety.
It's just amazing.
Scorsese's a genius.
He is an absolute genius.
Do you know him?
He was on Entourage. I got him on Entourage. I'm not his friend. I will not say I'm his friend. I'd like to be his friend.
You have so many stories about all the famous people.
Yeah,
let's find a way to become Martin Scorsese's friend.
I would love it. I would love to watch him work.
I've seen him. I've seen him on the red carpet before.
Yeah? Did you talk to him?
No.
Well, I want you, Breezy. I want you to really
I'll call him, though.
I want you to take some looks at some of his other films, because King of Comedy is this Robert De Niro movie that is extremely underrated. That's absolutely brilliant. He's this shitty comedian who lives at home with his mother, and he wants to make it, so he kidnaps the who's the big talk show host now, the Jimmy Fallon of his day. He kidnaps him and demands that he goes on his show so he can perform. And After Hours is also another great comedy. It's kind of like a updated.
I feel like I heard of that.
And ironically, he played the talk show host in The Joker and got killed.
Yeah, well, I mean, there were a lot
The
of
new Joker?
Yeah, the new Joker. There were definitely a lot of
that.
There were definitely a lot of influences from Joker, which actually Scott Silver, I think he was nominated, who I went to AFI with, and is an amazing writer who wrote 8 Mile. I've never spoken to him about it, but there had to be influences from King of Comedy on Joker for sure. So, but Scorsese, for anyone who loves movies, every single thing he's done is worth watching more than once and checking it out. And
where is he from?
He is from New York. I mean, so he grew up in that world, and he's Italian. And he was also a guy, I know this because I've read so much about him, but he was asthmatic, and he literally just used to sit in the window and watch the world happen and watch the gangsters underneath him, and really...
New York's the wrong place to be with asthma.
It's definitely...
Literally, it is the wrong place.
It would not, but if you have that mind, it worked for him. And, he put his mother in it, too. That, which I love, I mean, I think it's great. His mother played, the mother in that scene where they go in after they kill Billy Batts, and she makes him dinner, which, my Italian friends, when I was growing up, that's what it was like. Like, if it was Sunday at 1:00 in the morning and you showed up, the mother would make the most incredible, 6-course meal in minutes.
Yeah.
And
I saw a really interesting thing about that as well. Do you know the only written dialogue for that scene was the discussion of the painting, when she shows them the painting of the two dogs, one pointing west, one pointing east?
Yeah.
Because that painting was apparently Pileggi, the author of the book, it was his mother. She was a painter. And that was her painting.
She painted it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, wow.
I love that behind the scenes stuff.
That was it. Yeah. Was that in the kitchen?
Yeah, it's like in the dining room off of the kitchen.
Off the kitchen.
She's making
I remember that.
4-pound sausages and meatballs at 3 in the morning.
It's so awesome.
And he was getting ready to leave or something, wasn't he?
Well, he came in because they needed... he said they needed something to cut off the hoof of the deer, but he needed a knife to stab the guy in the trunk.
Well, no, they didn't know they were going to stab him in the trunk yet.
You don't hear too many bad things attached to Scorsese's name.
No, never.
Especially when it comes to his film.
Never. And the most famous scene, which is what we just talked about, which is, do you think I'm funny? That was improvised, and that came from Joe Pesci, who had seen that because he had spent some time with these guys. And the truth is, like I said, I'm not trying to say I'm anybody, but I've spent a lot of time with some mobster criminals, and they are charming, and they are funny, and they are storytellers. Actually, Sammy the Bull, he's got a podcast, and it's riveting to listen to.
I'm sitting here thinking, and I believe my first time seeing Joe Pesci was in Home Alone.
You know what? So I'm watching Goodfellas last night with my daughter, and she goes, "Isn't that guy from Home Alone?" And also,
oh my God,
a good behind the scenes Joe Pesci story. On Entourage, we do this scene. We do this scene where Jeremy Piven is Ari Gold. Someone sends him a male stripper as like a joke to make him uncomfortable in his office. Joe Pesci was friends with that male stripper, so he came to my set, and he was there, sitting there, watching this scene for 6 or 7 hours. And I sat there and begged him to come onto Entourage. And he finally was like, Doug, I'm not doing your fucking show, all right? So, and about 3 days later, I was jogging with my son, and Joe Pesci runs by, and I'm like, Joe! And he completely ignores me, and my son goes, Daddy, I don't think that guy has any idea who you are. I'm like, yeah, you might be right. So
is he from New York as well?
Joe Pesci is from New York as well, and De Niro is from New York as well.
Joe Pesci's so classic to me. Like, he's a classic man.
He's unreal. You've seen My Cousin Vinny, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Joe, he's brilliant.
These
with
are all
comedy.
things my mom had on VHS, so we had tapes of
What's
all
a
this
VHS?
stuff. Tape.
I had Betamax actually before the VHS. So anyway,
Joe
anything
Pesci.
else that stood out from Goodfellas? I don't want to leave anything on the table. I think everybody needs to watch this movie. Even if you've seen it, watch it again.
Can you write something with me and Joe Pesci?
Joe Pesci, I believe, is retired. I don't believe he wants to act
I can get him
He
to come back.
loves golf. I
think I can get him to come back.
But by the way, I had a hot show on HBO and I couldn't get him on, so I'm not sure I'm going to get him on a spec script, but I could certainly try to give him a call.
I said I can get him on.
By the way, I believe that. I do.
Believe me.
I do. By the way, that'd be a sick combination. The question, though, is because we were talking about how breezy young she looks. You think she could do Home Alone? Does she look that young? She could do the reboot of Home Alone?
Yeah.
Ooh, a reboot.
Play Macaulay Culkin. Anyway, so that's Goodfellas. We like to keep it short and sweet. I think
Goodfellas.
It's just unbelievable, and we're going to figure out. I think we should look at some other Scorsese movies also, but we're going to figure out what we're going to look at next, and hopefully that was interesting to somebody besides me.
No, I liked it.
All right, welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed that little talk about Goodfellas.
Welcome back.
What are we going to do next? Because we have such. I want to do classics, but Breezy, I gotta go with what you want. Now you've thrown out a couple of names off camera.
Well, when I mentioned the Paperboy, you went and watched the wrong one.
I watched the wrong one, which is so weird.
And I want you to watch it. And I haven't seen that one, but I think I can watch Lee Daniels one too.
If you could watch the Lee Daniels one, and Lee Daniels is a genius. I know that.
Yeah.
I've met him. You worked with him on Empire. I didn't understand what was happening. I need you to translate Lee Daniels' Paperboy. I honestly felt like I did have a couple of edibles, but I didn't know what the hell was going on. So
I'm down to watch it though.
What do you want to watch next so that we're going to talk about that? Because I want something that excites you, that you get into, and I'll watch it, but I want to have something, because I know you mentioned Drop Dead Fred, which I worked at New Line. I was in the mailroom at New Line Cinema when that movie came out. I actually was at the premiere, and I couldn't even tell you anything about it. I don't even know who's in it. Is Jim Belushi in that movie? I don't even know what it is anymore, but I did see it at some point in my life. But I don't know. I mean, there were so many movies back then that were just amazing to me. Drop Dead Fred was one. Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands. I mean, Tim Burton, I love. Edward Scissorhands is a great movie. We can talk about that. I think we should get into a different genre. I mean, everything's been so serious. Outsiders was so serious. I told you what I wanted to watch.
Wait, Drop Dead Fred was Phoebe Cates of the old.
She was the star of it.
Class and all those great movies.
Phoebe Cates, Fast Times.
She was the actress when it was the 80s when we were growing up.
Well, Ted's being politically correct. She was the hot actress that we were all in love with. The scene from Fast Times at Ridgemont High is
felt like I said
probably the most famous nude scene of all time. But with the cars playing. You ever see Fast Times at Ridgemont High? Great movie. But what do you think about?
You've never seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Hollywood.
Ted, don't.
Oh my God, I'm blanking.
I'm
literally losing my mind.
What?
Hollywood. We've talked about it 10 times. Robert Townsend. This is a movie.
Hollywood Shuffle.
Hollywood Shuffle. I've seen. Not in at least 15 years. I've seen the movie 100 times. No idea if it holds up. One of the most successful independent movies of all time.
Hollywood Shuffle or Harlem Nights?
Hollywood Shuffle.
Which one would you choose?
Well, Harlem Nights is a big movie, and I could talk Eddie Murphy all the time, but I would choose Hollywood Shuffle. But how about Hollywood Shuffle and The Paperboy? And we do
which version of The Paperboy?
Well, not the Lee Daniels one. This other thing that
the one that came out in the 90s.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about it. What is it about?
It's about this maniac kid who is in love with his neighbor. Okay. And he damn near kills everything to get her to himself. He's only 11.
All right. So what do you think? Paperboy? I
think it's interesting. It's a Canadian film. It might be, the same thing you thought about Bodyguard. It might be that.
That's fine.
I think it's still a film,
that was
though.
Matthew McConaughey?
No, that's the wrong one. That's the Lee Daniels one.
It's
that's
still
what
a
I watched.
film, though.
Oh.
So Okay, but you're going to watch it again so you can tell me what you think updated, even though you've seen it. All right,
yeah.
let's go Paperboy,
I
Hollywood
watched
Shuffle.
it when I told you we would watch it. I watched it. And I would just want to know what you think. It's just for conversation purpose.
All right, so next week, Paperboy, Hollywood Shuffle.
It's probably the equivalent of Fat Beach.
I think that was a sly dig at Fat Beach, even though Breezy is on the record as saying it's one of her favorite movies.
She loved
Paperboy is one of my movies. Like, I love the movie, but I just wanted to know from your perspective. And I think that's what, our conversation is about. I want to hear Ted's perspective. I want to hear yours. And
I'm excited. I'm watching the Paperboy, but I also want to watch Hollywood Shuffle. If we don't
I'm down for
if we don't get to Hollywood Shuffle next week, we'll go the week after. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk.
Who's in that original Paperboy that she's talking about? I think it's the same woman who had the marble rye stolen from her by Seinfeld.
Breezy definitely does not know that.
Frances Bay, I think.
Let me see. Let me see what you're looking at. Hold it up.
Interesting call out there, Ted.
Yeah.
Hold up the picture.
She's an elderly
No, hold
actor.
up the picture of the... Oh, yes. The really older lady.
You can actually see what he just held up?
Yeah.
God, you are young.
She's much younger than you.
You're talking about the tiny old lady.
I mean... It's the only one that I see that's in the cast, but yes.
All right. We're wrapping it up. We're watching the Paperboy, not the Lee Daniels, Matthew McConaughey version. The other thing was some psycho kid that he delivers papers and murders people. Is that a good starting point? Okay. And
Hollywood Wayz next week.
Hollywood Shuffle. That wraps up another episode of Hollywood Wayz. I'm Doug Ellen. I have no Instagram.
Happy Halloween. It's Breezy.